যশোমতি নন্দন ব্রজবর নাগর যশোমতি নন্দন ব্রজবর নাগর ব্রজবর রঞ্জন কানা কুল রঞ্জন কানা গোপী পরাণ ধন মদন মনোহর গোপী পরাণ ধন মদন মনোহর কালিয় দমন বিধান কালিয় দমন বিধান অমল হরি নাম অমিয় বিলাস অমল হরি নাম অমিয় বিলাস বিপিন পুরন্দর নবীন নগর বর বিপিন পুরন্দর নবীন নগর বর বংশী বদন সুভাষা বংশী বদন সুভাষা ব্রজ পালন অসুর কুল নাশন ব্রজ পালন অসুর কুল নাশন নন্দ গোধন রাখোলা নন্দ গোধন রাখোলা গোবিন্দ মাধব নবনীত দশ কর গোবিন্দ মাধব নবনীত দশ কর সুন্দর নন্দ গোপালা সুন্দর নন্দ গোপালা যমুনা তট জর গোপী বসনর যমুনা তট জর গোপী বসনর রাসরসিক কৃপাময় রাসরসিক কৃপাময় শ্রী রাধা বল্লভ বৃন্দাবন নটবর শ্রী রাধা বল্লভ বৃন্দাবন নটবর ভগতি বিনোদ আশ্রয় ভগতি বিনোদ আশ্রয় যশোমতি নন্দন ব্রজবর নাগর বকুল রঞ্জন গান বকুল রঞ্জন গান গোপী পরাণ ধন মদন মনোহর গোপী পরাণ ধন মদন মনোহর কালিয় দমন বিধান কালিয় দমন বিধান কালিয় দমন বিধান কালিয় দমন বিধান
Good morning, everyone. Sorry that I'm a couple of minutes late. So let's see. We will be observing the disappearance day of a great person, Lochandas Thakur. It would be always nice to dwell on the life of those great saintly person. So it may go a little longer. So if you have to leave 7, then you can leave because I think it will take a little longer. So Srila Lochandas Thakur appeared in this world in 1520 AD, 34 years after the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Lochandas wrote a biography on Lord Chaitanya entitled Sri Chaitanya Mangal. And he wrote many devotional songs. Prabhupada liked his songs. Sri Lochandas Thakur took birth in a family of Rahiya physicians who resided in the village of Kogram within Mahakumar, Katna district of Bardhaman, and his guru was Sri Narhari Sarkar. I am the servant of Thakur Sri Narhari, who is the master of my life. The desire of all my desires I place at his lotus feet, which is that these wild creatures myself might describe something about the wonderful qualities of Sri Gaura Sundar. In this expectation, he is my only refuge. His father name was Sri Kamal Karadas and his mother name Sri Sadananda. He was the only son of his parents, and he was raised in his maternal grandfather's home, and his education was completed there. And when he was only a little boy, he enjoyed the good fortune of meeting the devotee of Sri Gauranga. He was married at a very young age, and from his youth he was very attached to Sri Gaura Sundar and consequently very disinterested in material life. Though he was surrounded by family, friends, and society, in his youth he spent the major part of his time at his Guru's Sripat, Srikhand, where he learned how to do kirtan. The book that he composed, Chaitanya Mangal, was from the diary of Sri Murari Gupta. Quote, Murari Gupta, who resides in Nadia, composed many beautiful verses about the life of Sri Gauranga. These include the youthful pastime of Nimai, which Murari Gupta personally took part in, and his later pastime in Nilachal. After he accepted sannyas, which were narrated by Sri Damodar Pandit, having heard these verses of Murari Gupta composed in Sanskrit, I have become very attracted, and so I have composed them in the village folk poetry meter of Bengali. In his Chaitanya Mangal, Srila Lochandas Thakur has written, quote, My hope of hopes is to be near the lotus feet of Sri Narhari Thakur, to serve and worship him with my very life. The cherished desire of the fallen Lochandas is to be allowed by the grace of Narhari to sing the glories of Sri Gauranga. My Lord is Sri Narhari Thakur, and I am his servant. Bowing and praying before him, I beg him to allow me his service, and this is my only aspiration. Haribol. Previously in Bengal, especially East Bengal, now Bangladesh, the poet used to compose sacred songs and verses in different forms of classic rhythms and rhythmic meters called Panchali, such as Lakshmir Panchali, Sanir Panchali, and Manasa Bhasan. The Panchali style of composition was especially used for glorifying the Lord. Srila Lochandas Thakur used the Panchali form of verse meter in composing his famous work, Sri Chaitanya Mangal. The Panchali form employ 5 different kinds of song style or meters, and the principal source material that was drawn upon by Sri Lochandas Thakur in composing his Chaitanya Mangal was a Sanskrit book by Murari Gupta called Sri Chaitanya Charitamrutam. Lochandas Thakur explained this in his Chaitanya Mangal as follows, quote, that very Murari Gupta, who lived in Nadia, composed many Sanskrit verses about the life of Sri Gauranga, which he later arranged in the form of a book. Having heard these verses from Murari Gupta, Damodar Pandit taught them to me, and I memorized them with a great delight, as these Sanskrit verses and the conceptions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu imparted to me through Damodar Pandit developed within my mind. It flowed forth from me in the form of these Panchali verses in Bengali, which I write in glorification of the life and pastime of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sutrakhand. In his preface to the Chaitanya Mangal, Srila Lochandas Thakur offered his prayers to Vrindavan Das Thakur before proceeding with the narrative. He says, quote, I offer my prayers of submission to Vrindavan Das Thakur with all my hearts. The sweet song of his Chaitanya Bhagavat has enchanted the whole world. Vrindavan Das Thakur's Chaitanya Bhagavat was originally called Chaitanya Mangal, and it is said that Srila Lochan Das Thakur and Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami give it the name Chaitanya Bhagavat. And Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami write, Krishna Lila Bhagavate Kahe Veda Vyas Chaitanya Lilara Vyas Vrindavana Das. Quote, Ved Vyas has described the pastime of Krishna in his Bhagavat. The Vyas of Chaitanya Lila is Vrindavan Das. From this comparison between Vedvyas and Vrindavan Das, it has been concluded that Kaviraj Goswami is probably responsible for Vrindavan Das Thakur's work, becoming known as the Bhagavat of Chaitanya Lila or Chaitanya Bhagavat. And there are many pastimes of Sri Chaitanya that have only been touched on briefly by Vrindavan Das Thakur. These are described in detail in Chaitanya Mangal of Lochan Das Thakur. The Chaitanya Mangal is divided into 4 parts: Sutrakhand, Adikhand, Madhyamakhand, and Sesakhand. The Sutrakhand has 2 chapters. Adikhand has 7, Madhyamakhand has 12, and Sesakhand has 3. And the content of the Adikhand are as follows. The first chapter in Sutrakhand is called Manglacharanam, or auspicious invocation. It begins with a song of a glories of Sri Chaitanya and then praises the Vaishnavas, who were personal associates of Sri Chaitanya. After this, Lochandas Thakur offered respect to his Gurudev, Narhari Sarkar Thakur, and praised for his Guru's mercy. He offered his obeisances at the lotus feet of the countless devotees and personal associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, known and unknown. Having prayed for the blessings of the Guru and Vaishnavas, Lochandas explains that Murari Gupta had written a book in Sanskrit called the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and that since that book is no longer available, he is giving its essence in the form of a Bengali verse called Panchali. He then briefly described the subject found in the Adi, Madhya and Sesa Khandas. The second chapter of the Sutra Khand is called Grantharambha, for here the book actually begins. In this chapter, Lochandas relates how he heard from Damodar Pandit the story of Jaimini Mahabharat recital, wherein he described a conversation between Narada and Uddhava. In that conversation, Narada explained the cause of Krishna's appearance in the golden form of Sri Gauranga. One time, Narad saw that with the coming of the age of Kali, the living being had fallen into great suffering. He began to worry about how they could be delivered and the principles of Dharma restored. Thinking in this way, he decided that only Krishna's descent into this world would deliver the fallen soul and restore the principle of religion. Wanting to appeal to Krishna to descend as an avatar, he set out for Dwarkadham. At that time, Krishna was staying in the palace of Sri Rukmini Devi. Just then, upon learning that Sri Krishna would soon appear on earth in a golden form, with the golden luster and devotional mood of Radharani, Rukmini Devi became deeply troubled. Feeling separation from the Lord, she fell at the lotus feet of Krishna and began praising the qualities of Sri Radha, whose devotion was so glorious that Krishna wanted to honor her by assuming her luster and mood. At that time, Narada entered the room. He explained to Krishna the reason for his trip, that he wanted Krishna to descend to this earth planet in order to deliver the fallen souls. And at that time, Krishna revealed to him how in the future he would appear as the son of Sachidevi and Jagannath Mishra in Navadvip Dham in a golden form with all his transcendental associates. So having seen that golden form revealed, Narada was overwhelmed with ecstasy, constantly thinking of this golden form and the Lord's plans to appear in Navadvip Dham as Sri Gauranga. Narada, the best of Munis, went to visit Naimisharanya, all the while singing the glories of the Lord. Haribol. Whenever we walk, whenever we do something, we should always sing the glories of the Lord. There, in answer to Uddhava's inquiries about the welfare of the living being, he explained how in Kali Yuga, the best of all ages, because of Sri Gauranga's advent, Krishna would appear in a golden form as Sri Gauranga and perform the kirtan of the holy name of Hari. And Narada told Uddhava how the Lord would come to establish the Sankirtan of the holy name of Krishna. as the Yuga Dharma, the religious principle for the age of Kali. And Narad explained the glories of Kirtan. Thereafter, Narad Muni related to Uddhava the discussion that had previously taken place when he had gone to Kailas and visited Lord Shiva, the best of the Vaishnavas. There, Narada and Parvati discussed the glories of Mahaprasad. Having heard of the glories of the Mahaprasad from Narad Muni, Parvati had performed 12 years of Lakshmi Seva. And by her mercy, Parvati got some of Lakshmi Devi's own Mahaprasad and also gave Shiva a small bit of that prasad. Not able to tolerate the dancing of the Lord Shiva, upon obtaining this Mahaprasad, the earth came before Parvati, begging her to give the Mahaprasad of the Vaishnavas to all the Jivas. With this proposal, Parvati explained how the Gaura Avatar would come in Kali Yuga and distribute Mahaprasad to all the fallen souls. After this, Narad Muni went to Brahma and discussed the Gaur Avatar with him. Brahma, the creator at that time, explained to him the essential subject of the Srimad Bhagavatam and showed him how the version of the Bhagavatam supported the Gaur Avatar. After this, Narada began wandering here and there. As he went from place to place, he became concerned about the suffering of the jivas. This saintly person can see the difference. We feel enjoyment. As he was worrying about the living entities in this way, he came near Jagannath Puri. There he heard a divine voice discussing the avatar of Jagannath. On the order of the divine voice, he went to Puri. And from there, the Lord ordered him to go to Goloka. First, he came to Vaikuntha. And after this, he arrived in Golok, where he saw many pastimes of the Lord. There he saw the Lord in his golden form as Sigora and fainted in ecstasy. And after this, he went all over the universe, informing the gods, all the gods of the news. In Svetadip, which is outskirt of the Goloka, he saw the supernatural pastime of Balram, the very figure of service. And after this, all the demigods began taking birth on earth, as previously mentioned by Krishna in his conversation with Rukmini. The Lord, along with Satyabhama, Rukmini, and all his eternal associates from the spiritual world, came with the luster and mood of Radharani in a golden form as a Gauranga. He came to spread the Sankirtan of the holy name of Krishna. And Balram came as Nityananda. Lord Shiva came as Advaita Prabhu. And other great souls descended as his other eternal associates, like Murari, Mukunda, Srivas, Raya Ramanan, Ishwar Puri, Madhavendra Puri. Lochan Das Thakur conclude, Haribol, this is Haribol. This music has some ad I didn't realize. So Balram came as Nityananda, Shiva came as Advaita Prabhu, and other great souls descended as his other eternal associates. Let me get back to the music. This is the wonderful thing to be listening while we read the Krishna's and Gauranga's pastime. What happened? Doesn't allow me to start from beginning. Oh, let me change that. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, so this music doesn't allow two apps at a time. Let me see if I can find some other tunes. How to get about this one? Okay. Oh, this one also doesn't allow. Haribo. I played this tune before it was playing with other app also. Krishna is so kind, huh? Let's see. That also doesn't want to play Haribo. So let's read now. Balram came as Nityananda, Shiva came as Advaita Prabhu, and other great soul descended as his other eternal associates like Murari, Mukunda, Srivas, Rai Ramanan, Ishwar Puri, Madhavendra Puri. Lochandas Thakur concludes the chapter by praising the glories of his Guru, Sri Narhari Sarkar Thakur, and his nephew, Raghunandan Thakur. This Raghunandan Thakur was also really a elevated personality. He was reading this pastime of Krishna to Narottam Das Thakur, and that's why Narottam Das Thakur became so attracted to Lord Sri Krishna. The first chapter of the Adi Lila of Chaitanya Mangal described the Janma Lila, or birth pastime of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The chapter first described the advent of Lord's eternal associates who appeared in this world before Mahaprabhu himself. Lochandas described the Lord as the remote and immediate cause of creation. For Brahman, Sri Narayan himself, that supreme personality of Godhead, descended within the womb of Sachi Devi and advented himself upon this earth. In this way, gradually Sachi's womb grew day by day, and her body assumed a supernatural effulgence. Seeing her wonderful bodily effulgence, everyone was astonished and thought, good, surely a great personality is about to take birth from the womb of Sri Sachi Devi. Unquote. So when her pregnancy was in 6 months, one day Advaita Acharya Prabhu went to the house of Sachi Devi and Jagannath Mishra. Arriving there, he offered his obeisances to the child in the womb of Mother Sachi and then circumambulated her. Sachi Devi and Jagannath Mishra could not understand the cause of Advaita's unusual behavior. Haribol. And in this way, Brahma, Shiva, and other gods came to offer their respect to that supreme personality of Godhead, who had hidden himself within the womb of Sachi Devi, knowing well that he would soon advent himself in this world to deliver the lowest of man with the highest nectar of Krishna Prem. Detecting There present, Sachi Devi felt great joy. When the heart of Sachi Devi was full of mercy for the whole world, that is to say, when the most merciful Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had completely filled her heart, gradually the 10th month came. And after this, taking advantage of an auspicious moment, on the full moon day in the month of Falgun, in the midst of Hari Sankirtan, Sri Gaurachandra appeared like a golden moon from the ocean of the womb of Mother Sachi. So in this way the Lord appeared on earth and the 10 directions were jubilant. Remember in the spiritual world, the special 10 demigods stand with the trident in 10 directions, protecting that unqualified person cannot enter. The gods and goddesses, men and women, eager to see the moon-like face of the son of Sachi, hurried to the house of Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Devi. And in this way, their home was transformed into Vaikuntha. Jagannath Mishra and all the residents of Nadia who had turned out to see that divine child were all struck with wonder to see his beauty. He had a neck like a lion, arms like the trunk of elephants, and a broad chest. His lotus feet were marked with the auspicious symbols of Lord Vishnu, a flag, thunderbolt, a rod for driving elephants. Seeing all this wonderful and superhuman manifestation of divinity in the child, the people there were all astonished. Everyone speculated about his supernatural origin, saying, quote, "He's definitely not an ordinary human," unquote. For 8 days, the newborn child and its mother were quarantined, as is traditional for childbirth in Bengal. And on the 9th day, a great festival was held. And at that time, all the neighbors were filled with great joy to see the boy, and their attractions for him increased. The second chapter of the Adi Khanda describes the Lord's Bala Lila, childhood pastime. Yeah, on the other classes, on the Brahma Samhita, that the very small childhood pastime happened in Gokul, and then the Pagunda Lila happened at the Nan Bhavan, and then Kishore Yovan pastime happened at the Govardhan Hill. So all these things, and it was mentioned that Krishna, when he took the birth, he grew so fast to the youth than the normal, what we take so many years. But it says that Krishna wants to associate with the Radharani and Gopis. So he tremendously, very quickly grown from this Pagunda and Krishna, the, what is that, earlier time, 1 to 5 or what they call? I don't remember that word now. Anyway, it's all up to Krishna. Okay. So, at appearance of the Lord, the whole world was delighted. Since the Lord gave pleasure to the whole world, the Brahmanas said his name should be Vishwambar. Soon Vishwambar began to walk by holding on to Jagannath Mishra's finger with his tiny hand. The different women in the village used to decorate him with different ornaments, and they would wonder at the beautiful effulgence that emanated from the child, which was as bright as millions of moons. The moon outside can brighten the darkness of night only slightly, but the moon of Sri Gaurachandra can eliminate all darkness, both within and without. So Sachi Devi would sing to her son while threshing wheat, and at that time all the demigods are offer prayers to her son. Seeing this, Sachi Devi was quite amazed. Sometimes she would see Gaura Hari chanting the glories of Radha Krishna with the gods and would become astonished and faint. When she heard ankle bell ringing on the barefoot of her child, again she was bewildered. Sometimes she was afraid that ghosts were causing a disturbance, and sometimes she would look in the mouth of her child, and the beholding the universal form became completely astonished. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also performed the same pastime as Krishna. So in this way, gradually Gaurahari grew old enough to play outside. When he astounded his newfound childhood friend with his divine antics, his playmates were quite attached to him. Sachi Devi would carry the baby Gaurahari in her arms and watch after him carefully as he ran about, to keep him from smashing everything as he played. Once he explained to Mother Sachi the nature of things pure and impure, instructing her on the aprakita nature of Krishna, who is master of everything. While sitting on a heap of broken clay pots, soiled with leftovers, he instructed his mother on Gyan. Seeing his mother bewildered, he brought her some coconut fruits. In this way, he performed many childhood pranks. He used to play with puppy dogs. And when Sachi Devi chastised him for playing with a dog, and Gaurahari had to give up his pet, he cried tears of anger before Sachi Devi. And at that time, he bestowed a divine spiritual body upon that dog while performing Hari Kirtan. The dog went to Vaikuntha, and as Brahma, Shiva, and all other demigods saw the good fortune of the dog, they were all amazed. Sachi Devi was astonished at the activity of her son, who made her understand his supreme position as the absolute Lord. And the fourth chapter of the Adilila of Chaitanya Mangal described the Lord's Pagunda or boyhood Lila. Having heard Murari Gupta reciting the Yoga Sastras, the Lord mimicked his gesture and speech, making fun of him, and then began to laugh appropriately. Thus Murari Gupta was enraged and chastised the Lord with words of anger. And in return, the boy intended to express his contempt for the conclusions of the yogis, went to Murari's afternoon lunch and urinated on Murari Gupta's plate. After this, he instructed Murari Gupta on the superiority of Krishna Bhakti. Finally, the author discusses Mahaprabhu's boyhood performance of Sankirtan and relates what he heard from Damodar Pandit of Murari Gupta's note on the sannyas of Viswarup, the Lord's older brother. He also relates the lamentation of Sachi Devi and Jagannath upon their sons taking sannyas. He also recounts many other pastimes performed by the Lord as a boy. At that time, the Lord's hair-cutting ceremony took place, and soon thereafter, the day of Hate Kare, or the first holding of chalk, came. On that day, to signify the beginning of a child's formal education begins, he is given a piece of chalk and a chalkboard upon which he is to draw the letter of the alphabet. Upon beginning his studies, the Lord was overjoyed to meet many new classmates. On the day that his son's education began, Jagannath Mishra was very pleased. That night, however, he had a dream in which a Brahmana appeared to him and told him that his son Vishwambara was Bhagwan himself. Who can educate the Supreme Lord or discipline him as a small boy? From this, Jagannath Mishra could understand the supreme position of his jaw. And when his dream broke, he was again overwhelmed with the sentiments of parental love and soon forgot the dream. At a particular time, the sacred thread ceremony of the boy was performed. And after this, there is a discussion of the four ages and the Yuga Avatar. In Dwapar Yuga, the Supreme Lord himself, Sri Krishna, the son of Nand in Vrindavan, makes his appearance on earth. In Kali Yuga, Sri Krishna appeared with the luster and mood of Sri Radha, advent himself as Sri Gauranga. By performing Sankirtan, he establishes the religious principle for the age of Kali. My sister is calling from India, Haribo. She can call me later. He established religious principle for the age of Kali, Harinam Sankirtan. In order to establish the Yuga Dharma, he comes as a preacher. Maddened with Krishna Prem, he delivers all souls with the ecstasy of love of God by moving here and there and distributing divine love. Yeah, she doesn't know, my sister, that we have expanded 1 more hour. That's why she called after 7. Haribo. While in his Grahastha Lila, he ordered his mother to refrain from eating grains on Ekadasi. In this way, instructed everyone to follow these injunctions. Haribo. Still 44 devotees online, huh? What a nice, when I visualize sometime, when I see the number 80, 84, I feel fortunate to have that association. I can visualize 84 devotees sitting together. Haribo. Gradually, Jagannath Mishra fell ill and passed away, entering into the Lord's unmanifest pastimes. That was also a beautiful description in the Brahma Samhita, how to manifest unmanifest pastimes. Haribo. Because we need to learn that. Then and then, when we visit the Vrindavan, we will be able to see all these aprakat lila in the prakat form. There is a process. That's why we need to listen, and listen. Then slowly and slowly, those words will make little sense in our mind, because we are so dumb in spiritual topic. So we need to slowly and slowly chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That's initial. And then pray for those personality to give us the intelligence to understand those topics. So when Jagannath Mishra passed away, at that time, the Lord instructed Sati Devi on fleeting nature of man's short life within the material world. Haribo. He also explained many other important principles of divine reality to her. With the passing of her husband, Sachi Devi greatly lamented. Gaurahari himself also lamented the passing of his father. And after this time, he began paying close attention to his studies. And the chapter 4 described the Lord's pastime of youth and marriage. And one day after the school, the Lord was walking home from his teacher's house. And at that time, he met Vanmali Acharya. As they talked, the Acharya made the Lord understand that he had just been to see his mother Sachi Devi, where he had been making arrangement for the Lord's wedding. Sachi Devi has rebuffed him, and unable to secure her permission for the match, Vanmali was a little unhappy. In this way, he was returning to his home, downcast. Sri Gaurahari returned home without intimating anything of his conversation with the matchmaker. The Lord informed her of his intentions to wed, saying that she should seek out Vanmali and make the necessary arrangement for the wedding of her son. She did so, and on the order of Sachi Mata, Vanmali Acharya went to Vallabhacharya's house, and there he informed Vallabhacharya of the Lord's intent to wed Vallabhacharya's daughter, Lakshmi Devi. So having made all the arrangement for the wedding, Sachi Devi informed all her friends and relatives of the auspicious event and invited them to the occasion. Everyone floated in the waves of a joyful ocean. In this way, Sachi Devi made preparation for her son's wedding. All the residents of Nadia turned out to see the wedding. The relatives saw it. What is this? Oh, okay. Orc in pest control. All the residents of Nadia turned out to see the wedding. The relatives saw to it that all the old traditional Bengali wedding customs were followed. The Hindu ceremony of besmearing the bridegroom and bride with a paste of turmeric and then bathing them on the eve of the wedding was performed. As were many other rituals, the place where the wedding was to be performed was cleansed with sanctified water, and all the Vedic purificatory rites were observed. All this took place at the house of Vallabhacharya, and at last with great pomp and grandeur, in the midst of a great assembly of devotees, relatives and friends, the wedding of Sri Gaurahari and Lakshmi was performed in the house of Vallabhacharya. They didn't rent any hotel or any expensive place. They just do the wedding in the home. That's why I say don't spend more than, nowadays I used to say 15,000, but I was a little bit with the devotees because they wants to give the gift to the devotees, so I increased to $25,000, but not more than that. Haribol. The Acharya himself performed the Vedic wedding ceremony, and he offered his new son-in-law sanctified water and arghya to sweeten his lotus mouth. After this, he brought Lakshmi Devi up to on the wedding stage and presented her to Gaurahari. Finally, the scriptural sacrifice that is performed at wedding took place. And after this, the Brahmanas were fed sumptuous prasadam at the conclusion of the wedding, and Sri Lakshmi Devi was escorted to her new home as the bride of Sri Gaurahari. The fifth chapter of the Adi Khand of Chaitanya Mangal describes more of the Lord's pastime of youth, including his tour of Bengal. After some time, the Lord journeyed down the banks of Ganges, sanctifying that holy river even further by the touch of his lotus footsteps. And in order to provide for his new family, the Lord set out for East Bengal, where he took up the occupation of teaching. In this way, he gave his mercy to the residents of East Bengal who lived on the bank of Padmavati River. That's the Padmavati River where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sir Ramanand Rai discussion took place, right? When he returned to Bengal, he found that Lakshmi Devi had been unable to tolerate the pain of his absence. She was bitten by the snake of separation and passed away into unmanifest pastimes of the Lord. Sachi Devi was heartbroken and was consoled in her lamentation by Gaurahari, who glorified the sublime qualities of Lakshmi Devi. The sixth chapter of the Adi Khand of Chaitanya Mangal described the arrangement made by Sachi Devi for the Lord's second wedding. Through Dwij Kasiswar, it was arranged that he was to be wed to daughter of Sanatan Pandit, Vishnu Priya Devi. Here the wedding of Vishnu Priya and Gaurahari is elaborately described. The seventh chapter of the Adi Khand describes the Lord's journey to Gaya. Sometime after the wedding of Gaurahari and Vishnu Priya Devi, the Lord, having completed his education, busied himself in his teaching work. So one day he left for Gaya to offer respect to his departed father. And it still says in the Srimad Bhagavatam that we should do the ritual at Gaya. It still has tremendous benefit for the departed soul. So this is wonderful to know. Don't go anywhere, just go to Gaya and perform the rituals for our dear relatives. Okay, then as he walked down the road, everywhere the birds and animals who saw him were stunned with ecstasy upon beholding his lotus feet. After instructing a Brahmana in Krishna Bhakti, the Lord allowed a Brahmana to drink the water of his lotus feet. Haribol. Very potent to get the water that washed the feet of a Vaishnava. That Brahmana immediately became free from all his bodily distress. At that time, the Lord also instructed how the mysterious of Krishna Bhajan cannot be understood simply on the basis of one's birth in a Brahmana family. At last, arriving in Gaya, the Lord performed worship of the Devas and Prithis in order to do his duty regarding his departed father. While so engaged, he went to see the lotus feet of the Vishnu deity. And at that time, the Lord met that best of Vaishnavas, Sri Ishwarpuri. He prayed for the mercy of Ishwarpuri Prabhu, who soon thereafter initiated him in Krishna mantra. With this, the Lord's transcendental ecstasy became manifest. After this, he went to take darshan of the lotus feet of Vishnu. Upon seeing the Lord's holy feet, Sri Gaurahari was overwhelmed with prem and exhibited his ecstasy by laughing, singing, and dancing. Only a few days later, he returned home. From this point, the first chapter of the Madhya Khanda begins. Haribol. In the first chapter of the Madhya Khanda, the author described the Lord pastime as a teacher and explains how he showed mercy to his students. Praising her good fortune, the Lord showed his grace to Sachimata. You know, we have the Sachimata Devidasi also join our Zoom call. Haribol. Soon after this, but that's Sachimata Devidasi, not Sachimata. Soon after this, he revealed symptoms of Mahaprema at the home of Shuklambara Brahmachari. And this was the first time that he publicly revealed his absorptions in Krishna Prem by showing the symptoms of a great ecstasy, such as swooning, tears shooting from the eyes, hairs of the body standing on the hand, choking up the voice, laughing madly, and so on. Performing sublime kirtan, Sri Gaurahari drowned everyone in the waves of bliss. And in this way, the Supreme Lord appeared as his own devotee in order to glorify the position of bhakti. After this, the Lord began his pastimes of preaching and glories of Sri Krishna Prem, engaging many devotees in preaching. He began organizing all the devotees, beginning with Gadadhar, as well as many devotees from within and without Bengal. One day, the Lord went to the house of Srivas and his brothers. At that time, the devotees could hear the flute of Krishna. At that time, the Lord became overwhelmed by the mood of Srimati Radhika. In the madness of separation, he began laughing and crying. Sometimes he would fall completely silent and his mood became grave. In this way, he manifests different divine moods. At that time, a divine voice said, quote, O Vishwambar, you are the Lord himself. For the purpose of preaching Krishna Prem, you have descended within this world. Unquote. Later, at the house of Murari Gupta, the Lord would reveal his form as the Varaha avatar. At that time, Murari offered prayers before the Lord in great ecstasy. And the Lord told him to show Krishna, the son of Nand, following in the footsteps of the residents of Vrindavan. Murari Gupta wanted to see the form of Sri Ramachandra. At that time, the Lord instructed him on the glories of the holy name of Krishna. At last, the Devatas headed by Lord Brahma appeared before the Lord, praying for Krishna Prem and attained Krishna Prem by the mercy of Sri Gauranga. After this, the Kirtan performer Shuklambara Brahmachari began chanting Jai Radhe Jai Govind and attained the mercy of Sri Chaitanya. And after this, Lochan Das Thakur described the glories of Sri Sri Gaura Gadadhar. So in the second chapter of the Madhya Khand, the author described the beauty of Sri Gauranga's divine form. The Lord performed a miracle by planting a mango seed that immediately became a mango tree with fully ripened fruit for the satisfaction of the devotees. Whoever ate the fruit of that tree was delivered from the tree of material existence. The Lord instructed Mukunda Dutt on the supremacy of Krishna Bhakti and how one should give up thinking the body and mind and think only of the worshipable service of Krishna. The Lord gave his blessings to Murari Gupta. The Lord's pastime of Kirtan at the house of Srivas Thakur was described. When a foolish Brahman remarked that the Murti of Sri Krishna is a product of Maya, the Lord jumped in the Ganges with his clothes on to purify himself from the offender. The third chapter of the Madhya Khand describes the glories of Sri Advaita. Here the author described the Lord's pastimes with Advaita, how he performed kirtan in the house of Advaita, and how they embraced in ecstasy. A Brahman who tried to stop the kirtan of Mahaprabhu by attempting to frighten Srivas Pandit was bewildered by the Lord's magic potency. Also describes how the Lord in the house of Srivas performed the worship known as Gada Puja, wherein the club of Vishnu is worshipped in order to invoke the Lord's power in smashing the atheist. This chapter also explains the visit paid by Advaita to Navadvip, how Advaita bowed before Sri Gauranga and danced in ecstasy before him, realizing that his prayer for Krishna's descent had been fulfilled. When Srivas Thakur inquired into the glories of Advaita Mahaprabhu, described Advaita Tattva and advised everyone to worship Sri Hari. In the 4th chapter of the Madhyakand, Sri Gaurahari explains the esoteric meaning of Srivas. Murari Gupta's book, 3 Raghubhira Astaka 2 is discussed. The Lord writes 3 Ramdas 2 on Murari's forehead. He revealed himself as Ram and others Ram Pandit, the brother of Srivas Pandit, to serve Srivas. The devotees are sent to search for Nityananda. The Lord meets Nityananda at the house of Nandana Acharya. The Lord explained the glories of Sri Nityananda and how it is that by Nityananda's mercy one may attain Krishna Prem. At that time, the Lord reveals his 6-arm form and 2-arm form to Nityananda Prabhu. The 5th chapter of the Madhyakand reveals how late at night the Lord was weeping tears of ecstatic love for Krishna. He discussed his dream with Sachi Devi. The story of how Nityananda Prabhu spent 2 days at the house of Advaita Acharya is recounted. Nityananda Prabhu's prem is described. The worship by Advaita of Mahaprabhu in the house of Srinivas Pandit is described. The meaning of the Lord and Haridas Thakur, the author, also tells the author also tells how Nityananda's coffin was saved by Mahaprabhu, who later had the devotees wear it as a kavach. Mahaprabhu's trance and the devotees' separation from the Lord is also described. The ecstasy of the devotee upon the Lord's reawakening is also described. And the 6th chapter of the Madhyakand discusses the following subjects. This is all given by our dear Lochandas Thakur, Haribol. He did a great service to all of us. If he has not write this thing, who will know? How Gaurahari enjoyed pastime of prayer in the midst of the devotees, his meeting with Haridas Thakur, his visit at the house of Advaita, his order to Advaita to preach Krishna Prem without any considerations of fitness and unfitness. His order to all the devotees to preach Nama Prem and thus deliver everyone the effect of Nama Bhas, how the Lord would wander through the street of Nadia, performing Nam Kirtan, the story of the deliverance of Jagai and Madhai. After this, the author glorified the mercy of Sri Nityananda and Sri Gauranga. The 7th chapter of the Madhyam Khand describes the following subjects. How the Lord cast his merciful glance upon the son of an East Bengal Brahmana named Vanamali. The Brahmana, seeing the Shyamsundar form of the Lord, offered many prayers to Sri Gauranga. And after this, the Lord revealed his Narsimha manifestation at the house of Srivas. He bestowed mercy upon a follower of Shiva. After Brahman lady touched his feet, he jumped into also Ganges. the Lord gave instruction regarding the worship of Sri Hari. His mercy towards Srivas is described as our Mukunda's prayers, the Lord's manifestation of his Godhead, and Shiva's Pandit Abhishek of Mahaprabhu, the author's glorification of the qualities of Sri Gauranga and his instruction on the worship of Sri Gauranga conclude the chapter. Haribol, still 28 devotees are releasing now. The 8th chapter of the Madhyama Khanda describes the following subjects. How the envious Brahmana, who was stricken with leprosy, prayed for forgiveness in order to become freed from the sin of Vaishnava Aparadh, and was delivered by the mercy of Srivas Thakur. How a Brahmana was forbidden to enter the Lord's non-clerginal kirtan, and how the Lord danced in ecstasy when that Brahmana then cursed the Lord never to enjoy the pleasure of samsara. How the Lord in the mood of Balram demanded honey is described, and the assembly of the devotee at the house of Advaita is also described. The visit of the devotees headed by Acharyan Ratna is recorded. How all of them show the Lord's manifestation of Balram and bottle in the Ganges is also described. The 9th chapter of the Madhya Khand of Sri Chaitanya Mangal records the following subjects. The Lord manifestation of Varaha. How the devotees headed by Advaita were ordered to preach and perform Sankirtan. How the mood and qualities of the gopis was glorified in Kirtan. And how Srivas in the dress of Narada glorified Gadadhar Pandit. A discussion of divine correlation between Sri Gadadhar and Sri Radhika. Thakur Haridas visit. The ecstasy of Sankirtan, the Lord's mad manifestation of the mood of Vaikuntha opulence. How the Lord, in the dress of Lakshmi Devi, rendered service to the Lord in a great ecstasy. How the Lord expressed the inner mood of the personality of Godhead. The 10th chapter of the Madhyama Khand of Chaitanya Mangal describes the following. The Lord tells Srivas of the different religious principles for the different ages, and how Sankirtan is the best religious principle in the age of Kali. In the mood of Sri Radhika, the Lord began asking, where is Vrindavan? Where is Lalita? So in a great anxiety, Murari Gupta consoled him, and they all performed Kirtan. In a dream, Sachidevi says, Gaudahari, receive the sannyas mantra from Keshav Bharati. The Lord's powerful separation from Krishna is described. Worried that the Lord will take sannyas, the devotees are heartbroken. Mahaprabhu consoled the devotees. And the 11th chapter of the Madhyama Khand describes the following. Upon hearing of the Lord's sannyas, Sachidevi's lamentation, her entreaty to Gaurahari to remain a Grihastha, the Lord's advice to everyone to worship Krishna, his different attempts to console his mother, and his revelations of the divine form of Krishna to her. In the 12th chapter of the Madhyama Khand discusses the following subjects. The lamentation of Vishnu Priya Devi, the Lord's sweet words of pacification to her, and his instructions regarding divine reality, as well as his revelation of his four-handed Narayan form the visit by Srivas and Murari, the Lord's attempt to pacify them. The 13th chapter describes the following: the Lord's attempt to console the devotees and the instructions on different truths. With the aim to take sannyas, he swims across the Ganges and meets Kesava Bharati at Katwa. Sachimata and Vishnupriya faint. Nityanand Prabhu tries to pacify them. Headed by Chandrasekhar Acharya and Damodar Pandit, all the devotees follow Nityanand Prabhu to Katwa, where the sannyas is taking place. The Lord asks for the sannyas mantra from Keshava Bharati. The Lord first gives the sannyas mantra to Bharati and then hear it from him, because he always remains a supreme personality of Godhead. The lamentation of all the devotees at the sannyas of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord's attempt to pacify them, the Lord's eagerness for Krishna Bhakti, the giving of the name Sri Krishna Chaitanya. At the conclusion of sannyas, the Lord's wandering half mad in the Radhadesh. The 14th chapter describes how Chandrasekhar returns from Katwa to Nadia, bearing news to Sachimata and Vishnupriya, their lamentation. Nityanand Prabhu calls Mahaprabhu to detour to Santipur, the Lord's wish there. Nityanand's conversation with Sachidevi, the devotees of Nadia go to the house of Advaita in Santipur to see the Lord and Lord's reciprocations of affections with the residents of Nadia and their separation. The 15th chapter, Haribol, describes the Lord's deliverance of all souls through the performance of the Nam Sankirtan and how he bestowed upon all the jivas the supreme goal of life. After this, his journey to Jagannath Puri is described, as well as the humility of Haridas Thakur, the exodus of devotees who went to Puri to be with the Lord, his sweet words of consolation, how the Lord used to chant this sloka, Ram Raghav Raksamam, on his way to Puri, how Nityanand Prabhu broke his sannyas danda, and how the Lord manifested his pastime of anger with Nityananda after the breaking of his danda. The 16th chapter of the Madhyama Khanda describes how on the way to Jagannath Puri, the devotees bathed in a place called Brahmakund, how they went to Ramuna and had darshan of the Lord there. You know, the Kirchor, Gopinath is there near the Ramuna. We visited, it's a wonderful. And then they give the real test in the clay pot to all the devotees as a Mahaprasad. Haribol. How the Lord danced before the Gopal deity, how after bathing in the Vaitarani river, they had darshan of Varahadev. How the Lord went to Yajapur, how the Lord took darshan of the Sivalinga there. Then from Brahmakunda, he visited Nabhigaya and Sivnagar, how he received the darshan of the Sirodaksai Vishnu, how in a grove of mangoes he took up the question of Shiva Prasad and prayers to Shiva. After this, how he went from Kapoteswar and bathed in the Bhargavi river. How the Lord fainted before the Jagannath deities while having darshan there. His visit to the house of Sarvabhauma. How the Lord would go from the house of Sarvabhauma, take a position west of the Garuda Stamba, and see the deity of Lord Jagannath. how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and the Lord discussed Vedanta, and how Sarvabhauma was converted, and how the Lord revealed his six granted forms to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. From here, this Sesakhand begins. That's the last. And it has only what? How many? Two chapters only or three, right? The first chapter of the Sesakhand describes the Lord's Kirtan pastime, in which Sarvabhauma took part, the Lord's tour of South India, and his journey to Setubandha, his mercy on Vasudev Vipra, the Brahmana who had leprosy, the Lord's visit to Jiyadan Narsimha and its ancient history, the Lord's meeting with Ramanand Roy on the bank of Godavari, not the Padmavati, it's Godavari, sorry. Ramanand Vijay of Mahaprabhu's dual feature as Rasaraj and Mahabhav, the Lord's visit to Panchavati and Sri Rangam, how he bestowed mercy on Trimala Bhatt, his 4-month stay in Sri Rangam during the period of Chaturmasya, his meeting with Paramanand Puri, the prayer by Paramanand Puri to Gaura Bhagwan. Yeah, that's 3 chapters. Haribol. The second chapter of the Sesakhand describes the following: how the Lord continued on his South Indian tour and delivered the 7 trees that had been standing since the time of Lord Ramchandra. How at Setu Bandh, in great ecstasy, the Lord chanted the names of Ram, Lakshmana, Sita, and Hanuman. How the Lord returned to Alalarnath by way of the Godavari, his return to Jagannath Puri, his visit to Mathura, his meeting with Rupa and Sanatan, and how with Balbhadra Bhattacharya he wandered down the banks of Yamuna and through the 12 forests of Vrindavan. And the third and final chapter of the Sesakhand of Chaitanya Mangal, it's almost, we will get there, huh? 7:42. At least we will chant a couple of rounds before we close, at least, even though it gets late, to show our dedication to the holy name. The third and final chapter of the Sesakhand of Chaitanya Mangal records how the Lord returned to Jagannath Puri, the Lord's trip to Gauda Desh, how he passed through the Radha Desh, how he stopped in Kulia, how everyone in Navadip turned out to see the Lord, how they prayed for his mercy, and he bestowed amnesty on all. How, to satisfy his mother's desire, he went to Navadip and instructed her on of Krishna Bhajan. How the Lord went to Santipur, where he visited Sri Advaita, his kirtan there, and how the Lord left Santipur, his return to Jagannath Puri, and how he visited the deity of Jagannath, and how he performed the kirtan day and night. How King Prataprudra attained the Lord's mercy, his revelations of the 6th arm form to Prataprudra Raja, the Dravidian Brahmana who came to visit the Lord, how he was fasting for 7 days, and how he was delivered by the Lord's mercy. Haribol. In the Chaitanya Mangal, Lochandas Thakur mentioned the details of certain pastime not revealed by Vrindavandas Thakur. For example, Vrindavandas Thakur does not record the conversation that took place between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Vishnu Priya Devi just before the Lord left to take sannyas. But Lochandas Thakur described this as follows, quote, seeing Mahaprabhu's eagerness to take sannyas, the moon-faced Vishnu Priya Devi said, with her voice choked in emotion, quote, tell me, O Prananath, Lord of my life, and I shall take your order upon my head. Will you take sannyas? I have heard this rumor being circulated among the people in general. Hearing this, my heart is broken. If it is true, I shall enter into the fire. You are the treasure of my life. Your beautiful form is always ever fresh and newly youthful. Will you give up everything and go away? If I'm deprived of your association, I might as well give up my life by drinking poison. Haribol. Hearing the pitiful words of lamentation spoken by Vishnu Priya Devi, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled a little and spoke as follows, quote, who will give us this, right? That moment, the discussion, Haribol. We offer our humble obeisances to thee, Lord Chandas Thakur, lotus feet to bestow his mercy upon all of us. So now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is talking to Vishnu Priya. Listen, O you who are dear as life itself, please don't be in any anxiety. There is no need to worry at all. What I am about to say is for your own benefit. Please hear me attentively with your whole mind. Whatever you see in this world is all false. The only truth is Bhagavan and the Vaishnavas. Without that, whatever you see is all illusion. Haribol. Know this for a fact. Sons, wives, husbands, ladies, fathers, mothers, and everything else. All these relationships are illusory. They are temporary and transitional. If one lifetime we have one set of sons, wives, husbands, mothers, and fathers, and in our next life, this changes. Other than the lotus feet of Krishna, we have no real family. Everything else that we see as our family is an illusion of Maya. What we see as man and woman is unreal. Beneath the surface of all souls are spiritual energy. The relationship between man and woman is an illusory connection of Maya. Sri Krishna is the real husband of everyone. He is the master. Everything else is material. But unfortunately, this is not understood by the people in general. The soul is embedded in the mixture of semen and blood, from which it is born into a body composed of stool and urine. In this way, the soul moves upon this earth in ignorance. From boyhood to youth to old age, we suffer different miseries, all while mistaking the housing of this body as our real soul. Absorbs in false ego. You know, that was a very nice, like Vijay Prabhu posted yesterday. The disrespect to others is the sign, the same degree as we disrespect someone, the same degree we are flourishing our false ego. What a great sentence to remember as a devotee. We should never disrespect anyone. Who are we to judge anyone, right? Only Krishna can take care of everybody. So beneath the surface of all souls as spiritual energy, the relationship between man and woman is an illusory connection of Maya. Shri Krishna is the real husband of everyone. He is the master. Everything else is material. But unfortunately, this is not understood by the people in general. The soul is embedded in a mixture of semen and blood, from which it is born into a body composed of stool and urine. In this way, the soul moves upon this earth in ignorance. from boyhood to youth to old age. We suffer different miseries, all while mistaking the housing of this body as our real soul. Absorbed in false ego, we make friends, maintain attachment, suffering abuse, and are gradually cheated by old age. Brother, you have not seen the old age. The time is approaching for every one of us. We won't be able to even put the food in our mouth. The days are ahead of us. We won't be able to see who knows what the situation may be. We won't be able to sleep. We won't be able to digest any food. Always a pain in the body. Haribol. Those days are ahead. So from absorbed in false ego, we make friends, maintain attachment, suffering abuse, and are gradually cheated by old age. Even hearing the truth, however, still our eyes are blind. And while our suffering in the material world brings us to tears, we never worship Govinda. Forsaking Krishna's service. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is talking to Vishnu Priya. He is giving the advice. It's applied to every one of us. Forsaking Krishna's service, we maintain these bodies in the material world of birth and death, trapped in the bondage of Maya. Mad with false ego, we have forgotten our Lord, and so we ensure our passage to hell. Your name is Vishnu Priya. However, fulfill the real purport of Vishnu Priya and do not lament for what it is false. Remembering what I have said here, cast your worries at a distance and always think of Krishna within your heart, day and night. Unquote. So having conveyed all these divine instructions to Vishnu Priya Devi, the Supreme Lord Sri Gaurasundar revealed to her his four-arm form, thus making her understand his absolute position. And at that time, he told Vishnu Priya Devi again something, quote, you see before you the Supreme Lord. Cast your make lamentation away, unquote. At this, Vishnu Priya Devi became joyful within. Her grief and pain vanished, and her heart became blissful upon suddenly seeing the Lord's four-arm form. So after hearing the instruction of the Lord and seeing his absolute form, Vishnu Priya cast off her bewilderment. But her mentality of taking the Lord as her husband was intact. At that point, she fell at the feet of the Lord and said, hear these words of Vishnu Priya. Quote, O Lord, please listen to my entreaty. Falling at your lotus feet again and again, I implore you to accept my humble submission. I'm certainly the lowest, having taken birth in this world of samsara, but you are my most dear Lord of life. This is my only wealth. Without you, I have nothing. Without your service, I'll certainly go down. Unquote. Haribol. What a wonderful feeling of Vishnu Priya. Seeing this, Vishnu Priya Devi began loudly weeping, sobbing and sobbing again and again, in ever increasing frenzy of sorrow. Seeing the affliction of someone so dear, the Lord bestowed his merciful glance upon Vishnu Priya Devi, embracing her with his eyes, and so giving her his mercy. The Lord says that he can do any duty of any angas he can eat the prasadam by seeing. Because yesterday on the Brahma Samhita class, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was explaining that how this from the Mahavishnu, which is appeared from the first Krishna appeared expand as Balram. And from that Balram, the Vasudev Balram, Aniruddha, when Pradyumna appeared. And from that Balram again expand. And again Chaturviha come. Vasudev, Sankarsan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. From that Balram, Mahavishnu come. This is the class was given about the creation, how the creation took place. It's so wonderful to know the details and details and details. I have never heard those details before. So it's so wonderful to know. And it says that the Rama Devi, which is Lakshmi Devi, who is the consort of the Vishnu. So she was there. And then Mahavishnu, using that Rama Devi's, that call the glances upon the material, you know, that Ram Devi is two, the one is Yogamaya and one is Mahamaya. So the Mahamaya, unless and until everything stays as a lump, unless and until the Mahavishnu, that call the glance, which is Sambhu, so he impregnate the material energy, all the jivas and everything. So it says that the creation is not that they have to use this, our the genitals and all other things to produce the creation. Lord can do just those functions through his vision, that glance called Shambhu. Okay, I think just 1 minute. I will be back in a minute. Yes, I will open the door. Please stand. Yeah. Okay, no problem. I'll open the door for you. No? Not yet? Okay, I will just leave it unlocked so you can enter anytime. Okay? Yeah, okay, no problem. I'm busy with something, so you take care whatever you need to do. I have left the front door open, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Bye. Saying this, at that time the Lord said, Haribol, he embraced Vishnu Priya with his eyes, so giving her his mercy. At that time, Lord said, this is Gaura Hari speaking to Vishnu. Haribol, listen, O Vishnu Priya Devi, and give close attention to my answer to your words. I shall go there and there, but wherever I go, I shall still remain at your place. This truth I have spoken with great determinations. So Krishna can expand in so many ways. As we become dedicated, he will stay with us all the time. So upon hearing the order of the Lord, Vishnu Priya Devi could understand that the Lord is supremely independent. At that time she said, this is the final words of Vishnu Priya Mataji, you must do what makes you happy. Let no one be an obstacle to your divine mission, unquote. Addressing the Lord in this way, Vishnu Priya cheerfully averted her eyes from the Lord's glance and fell silent. Thus, when the conversation between the Lord and Vishnu Priya, which is painful to hear. So Lochandas Thakur also sing the glories of Sri Gauranga and Nityananda Prabhu in this beautiful following song. Parama Karuna Pahundui Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra Sab Avatara Sara Siromani Kevala Ananda Kanda Bhaj Bhaj Bhai Chaitanya Nitai Shruridha Viswasa Kori Visaya Chariya Se Rase Majia মুক্ত বলো হরি হরি দেখো ওরে ভাই ত্রিভুবনে নাই এমন দয়ালা দেব পশু পক্ষী জুড়ে পসনা বিদুরে সুই আর গুণাগন্থ સંસારે માજિયા રહિલા પરિયા સે પાદે નાહિલો આશા અપના કોરોમાં ભૂંજયે સમના કોહોયે લોચન દાસ. What is the meaning? This song was especially dear to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who translated as follows. This is Prabhupada's translation of this beautiful song of Lochan Das Thakur. Still we have 23 devotees, Haribol. This is a song by Lochan Das Thakur. Lochan Das declared that the two lords, Nitai Gaur Sundar, Lord Nitai and Lord Chaitanya, are very merciful. You know, it says that in Goloka Vrindavan, there is also Goloka Vrindavan and Navdeep is also there. And the difference is cited that both places has a sweetness and audarya means the munificence. Both places there. But in Goloka Vrindavan, the madhurya rush is prominent than the munificence. But in Navdvip, the munificence is prominent and madhurya is secondary. This is the difference between Navdvip and Goloka Vrindavan. Yesterday in the class, it was clear. The specific significance of this incarnation is that prosecuting their way of self-realization is simply joyful. For they introduce chanting and dancing. There are many incarnations like Lord Ram and even Krishna who taught Bhagavad Gita, which require knowledge and understanding. But Lord Chaitanya introduced a process which is simply joyful. Simply chant and dance. Haribol. What was there? Something thought was there while I was reading. So similar journey, many incomes like Ram and Krishna. Yes, that actually it says that, you know, when any author writes some book, then he might have some thought that, you know, actually I should have done this, but I forgot. So what they do, they write as an appendix in the book that he intend to include in the book, but it's too late because the book is already written. So same thing happened when Krishna was here. He performed wonderful pastimes and everything. But when he left this world, he realized that something I forgot to give to the people, that they really need to get the mercy of Krishna. And it says that I have to come back as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as a devotee of God, and show the way of all the general mass of people how to get delivered from the cycle of birth. And that was the heart and the mind was in the Krishna's mind when he departed from this world. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. And it says in Goloka Vrindavan, you know, in Bhagavad Gita, what it says the last, Sarva dharmam parityaja mamekam saranam bhaja ahantam sarva papebhyo mokshakshami masacha. They give up all these different religion and come and surrender unto me. So it says that this stage in the Bhagavad Gita, the topmost was, what was there? There are four things that we do, Artha, Kama, and liberation. Four things that normally we do in the material world. Haribol. Is anybody with sounded mind?
Dharma,
Dharma,
Artha, Kama, Moksha.
Huh? What
Dharma,
was
Artha, Kama, Moksha.
Artha? Artha, Kama,
Kama, moksha.
Moksha.
Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha.
Dharma.
Okay.
Dharma,
Right.
Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Right.
Yes, Guruji.
So, yesterday in the Brahma Samhita, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was saying that these four principle is also applied in Goloka Vrindavan. And then he gave the example how the dharma and karma apply. He gave the example of Nand Maharaj. Nand Maharaj was a liberated person, but still he performed his duty, dharma, as a senior person, take care of the family. And karma, he performed these different rituals to give protection to Krishna. So still those dharma, artha, kama and moksha is available in Goloka Vrindavan. And then he said dharma, artha, then kama. Kama is represented by the lusted desire of the gopis. It is there in Goloka Vrindavan. The dharma, artha, kama. Kama is there through the Brajbasis gopis. And moksha. There is always, when you go to the Goloka Vrindavan, you are already liberated. So this was also the point was made in yesterday class. Thank you for giving me those four items. I'm so dumb, you know. Haribol. Therefore, Lochandas request everyone, what he says, my dear brother and sister, mother and father, I request that you just worship Lord Chaitanya Nityananda with firm conviction and faith, unquote. Don't think that this chanting and dancing will not lead to the desired goal. It will. It is the assurance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that one will get all perfection by this process. Therefore, one must chant with firm faith and conviction. Haribol. But what is the process? If one wants to be Krishna conscious by this process, one has to give up his engagement in sense gratification. That is the only restriction. If one gives up sense gratification, it is sure that he will reach the desired goal. One simply has to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, without any motive of sense gratification. And that's the reason I highly recommend, don't make too much money, don't accumulate too much wealth, distractions. We will never attain the goal, no matter how hard we will chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. This is, he says the restriction is one. That's the sense gratification. We should dwell on our life, how much we use that money for our own benefit and happiness, and how much we use for Krishna's glorification. That will show us where we are. So Lochandas says, my dear brother, my sister, father and mother, you just try to examine this deeply within your heart. Within the three worlds, when we will be in that, before we will be put into the box, we will realize this fact. What is this? What did I do in my life? What a horrible mistake I did. And you can't retrieve your life back. You are in the box, ready to be put in the box. Don't put yourself into that situation. The end time is gonna come to all of us. And I don't want anybody to regret that moment. Utilize your time, everything principally to do the most important thing. And I will give that again, that example. You know what we are doing? The Acharya has given one glass. They have given us a sand. They have given us a small pebbles, little bigger stone, and the large stones. Large stone is bhakti to Krishna. And the sand is all material, small thing. Just think of it, what we are doing. We are putting importance to the sand first, and then we will put some pebbles. Are we going to feed that big stone then? There is no way. No way you will be able to. What we have to do? First put the big stone, and then there will be a space. You shake the glass, the pebbles will fit in. And then finally, the sand, you put it and shake it, the sand will also. So all we want to do will be accomplished. Don't worry. All your material things will get satisfied. Put the big stone in your glass and see, everything else will follow. You won't miss nothing. But we are so dull-minded. We keep on putting the sand first. We are giving the priority to our material life. And we will regret it. Write it down. You will cry before you leave this world. What horrible mistake I have done. So much suffering will be there. Believe me. I have went to the stage, very close. But by Krishna's grace, I don't know why he bring me back. But that's what it will happen to us. Dwell on it. Acharya says, think seriously this topic. So Lochanda says, my dear brother, sister, father and mother, you just try and examine this. Within the three worlds, there is no one like Lord Chaitanya or Lord Nityananda, because their merciful qualities are so great that they make even birds and beasts cry. What to speak of human being? Actually, when Lord Chaitanya passed through the forest known as Jharkhand, the tigers, elephants, snake, deer, and all other animals join him in chanting the Hare Krishna. It is so nice that anyone can join. Even the animals can join. What to speak of the human being? Of course, it is not possible for ordinary man to induce animal to chant. But if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could inspire animal to chant, at least we can encourage human being to adopt this path of Hare Krishna mantra chanting. It is so nice that even the most stone-hearted man will get melted. What a wonderful sentence. It is so nice that even stone get melted. So what is? Why they give this example? That impossible thing will become possible. Stone never get melted. So Acharya is putting the seed essence of this advice, that impossible things will become possible if you put a big stone in your glass. Give priority. Adjust everything else in the life. Useless thing. Just think about it. We are worried about this maintenance. Do we have any assurance? You go out to the work and smashed out. That happens. You have no work to do. Nothing. Do you think you will not survive? People do survive. Unnecessarily shelter we are keeping, and we are giving topmost priority in our life. Haribol. At least, I was a dull-minded, more fallen than you all. But somehow my Guru Maharaj knows something that, hey, involve him in this kind of a thing. Buy the land, negotiate with the, the seller, raise the fund, hire the architect, make a plan, build something, stay busy day and night. And that's what I did. I was so dumb, and still I'm a dumb. But my spiritual master was so merciful. So Lochan Das Thakur regrets that he is entrapped by sense gratification. He addresses himself, how he and his class just listen attentively. He's giving us the final instructions. He said, quote, "My dear mind, you are entrapped in this sense gratification process, and you have no attractions for chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Since you have no attractions for the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, what can I say? I can simply think of my misfortune. Yamaraj, the superintendent of death, is punishing me by not allowing me to be attracted by the Hare Krishna Mahamantra." Sri Lochandas Thakur ki jai. We pray at his lotus feet to give us a immense help and strength that one day we will come up to the conclusions. Let's give priority. At least he's not asking anything. You do what you are doing. Go to the bed at 7:30, wake up at 1:10, and see how your life can change. We cannot at least do that part. That's in our hand. 7:30 you go to bed and you see how your life will get more, and you will do everything. And not only that, your work, your other duties will become so easy that you will not notice that you did. I didn't realize how I raised my kids. I'm not saying to show off, but I'm just relaying you the reality. I never thought how they will get education, how now the people are thinking so many things for the children. I have never have any thought whatsoever how they are going to study. Did I ever spend even 5 minutes for the homework for my children? No. Did I enroll them in extracurricular activity? No. Did they succeed? Yes. So if we do one thing right in our life, Krishna will make so wonderful arrangement